everyone, welcome all. We are back for the EMBN Show. We've got Isaac again. If you want a job as a presenter on the EMBN Show, all you have to do is ask Isaac.
I just want a moped.
You just want a moped? Yeah. It's going to ruffle some feathers there. So on today's show, we are going full Euro, German, Italian and French. New stuff from 3 companies in that area. So, should we get right into it, Isaac?
Let's get into it. That is YT, Lapierre and Ducati coming up.
Let's see what they've got.
First up today then is a new Decoy Uncaged 10 from YT.
Yeah.
It's an e-bike. I don't know any more about it.
There's just an e-bike. Well, funnily enough, I used to work for YT, and this is one of their new Uncaged models. So the Uncaged model, the theory behind it is that they will do a limited edition model that will drop, sporadically throughout the year that isn't, year specific. So it's not, it's a 2024 model or 2023 model, and it'll be, on the cusp of the latest stuff. So, the original one was the Decoy Shred, which had the Fox 38. So it's one of the first bikes to have a Fox 38 on it because they could release mid-year. So now they've done the Uncaged 10, which is essentially, I'd say, like a Shred 3.0. I mean, don't shoot me for that. But again, this is now jumping on the train with like the Shimano EP801 motor.
Yeah.
It's got, carbon front triangle, aluminium rear triangle, Fox 38s, and a DHX2 coil shock. So it's aimed at being the downhill shredder. Isaac, you noticed something up on the bike as well, which was quite interesting and something from a non-e-bike guy, which was...
I wasn't sure whether this was specific to e-bikes because it suits the kind of technical climbing that you can really lean into with a motor, but they're speccing 160mm cranks across all the sizes, even up to double XL, I think.
That's pretty mad.
Paired with a 200mm post as stock. So it's just, I think it's cool they're really like fulfilling e-bike use.
It seems like the trend is going that way.
At the moment.
Yeah.
You can climb up all these awkward rocks and do all that cool stuff on an e-bike. So
whereas you may not need as much leverage on an e-bike because you've got the motor power to kick in. So again, with the YT, it's coming in at an absolutely killer price. It's €5,999, and it comes in a one-off paint job, which is red and grey. I think it looks incredible, and it also comes as standard with the Decoy's bigger battery, the 720 watt hour, rather than the 500 that was originally spec'd on it. So it's a great thing for all you people who wanted a bigger battery on their Decoy. Next up, coming on the news, we have Lapierre, and they're officially launching their new e-enduro bike, the GLP3. Now we've seen it on the circuit. You may have actually seen it out when you were out doing your racing.
Yeah. Is it Adrian Daly racing on that? It's cool to see that team kind of really focusing specifically on e-biking.
Yeah, exactly,
really cool.
And it's had a lot of progression with the design of that bike. I'd say it's quite a unique looking e-mountain bike. Whereas we see most of the batteries and things that rely in being on the down tube, that one kind of sits above, and it's gone through a lot of shape differences and shape changes. So I think it's quite interesting, but they're now officially releasing it. So yeah, it's a 170mm travel front and rear. Comes in mixed wheel size only. So that's interesting. I think we're seeing a lot more enduro race e-mountain bikes coming as a mixed wheel size rather than a full 29 wheel set, which, correct me if I'm wrong here, Isaac, classically you'd think in an enduro format, most riders would be choosing a 29er.
Yeah, I think with the E aspect of that, I mean, the arguments, a lot of the stuff to do with having full 29 would be to do with rolling speed and that ability to cope with bumps, but the e-bikes bring so much momentum and power that maybe it's more about facilitating manoeuvrability on those bikes. Yeah.
So what you're saying is e-bikes, e-mountain bikes are better than enduro bikes, yeah?
I'm saying there's different uses and advantages to all of it, and it makes sense to make the most of what they're good at.
Yeah.
And then, especially, I don't know if this is being driven by the racing with the really tight technical power stages and stuff like that.
And the technical climbs having that dynamic power to not have to spin the whole wheel up.
And then having the smaller rear wheel to give you that manoeuvrability.
Yeah.
And then where you'd want a full 29 on I'm not going to say acoustic.
A regular analog, whatever you want to call it. You're always going to piss someone off.
Where you'd want that ability to roll over all the bumps, you've got the motor and the extra momentum of the weight, which is a good thing in a lot of situations to help cope with that. I'm interested with on the Lapierre, you're saying the battery is higher up.
Yeah.
Have you ridden bikes of that kind of configuration much? How does it affect the
It's still
handling?
a low centre of gravity. It's still centralised. It depends on the weight distribution. So it's the whole picture. But, again, this bike is geometry-wise is really proving that. So, it's quite long. It's got a 64-degree head angle, 77-degree seat angle. 435 to 505 reach across the model, so that's from small till extra large. And the frame, interestingly, apparently only comes in at 3.3 kilos for the frame itself. Obviously, removing the battery, the motor, and all the rest of the extra parts that come with it, that's a killer frame weight. I don't unfortunately have the total frame, the total build weight, so we'll have to see in time. And it's coming with the new Bosch setup. What's really interesting for me is they've actually put that kiosk display recessed into the top tube. So now it doesn't sit on the handlebars, it sits within the frame. Cool stuff. Price-wise, it's not the cheapest. So it comes in 3 models, the Team, the SE, and the Elite. Now that's starting at 9,499 and going all the way up to 12,499 euros. So your pockets have to be deep, but again, this is an enduro race, e-mountain bike.
I feel like Lapierre have always kind of positioned themselves in quite the sort of not leaning into the value end of the market so much. Maybe they, we see that on the road with their bikes as well. They're like their race
focus.
Yeah.
And again, race bikes don't tend to come cheap because it's a performance gain, it's those marginal gains. Last but not least, then you were talking about getting a moped or a motorbike, so let's see what you have to say about the last one then, Isaac.
Well, this is Ducati launching some very limited edition.
Very
230 of them, which is that a significant number for Ducati for some reason? Is that
it just seems to be the run. Yeah, no, sorry. I couldn't say. But we actually saw this bike a few times. We've seen it at Eurobike. It's an incredible looking bike. It's a very unique frame design, quite angular. Comes with Olin suspension, so it's pretty out there. Yeah. It's running 180 front, 170 rear. It's quite a niche package. I mean, it's Öhlins, so cool suspension. It's got coil shock on the rear, so the TTX M2, and it's got the RX F38, so again, 38mm stanchions. It is an intended race bike, is from what they seem to be positioning. It's longer travel, but it's able to deal with some of that bigger terrain. Very similar as far as geometry goes as the Lapierre, say, with a 64-degree head angle, 78-degree seat angle, so slightly slacker. It's not cheap. It's not cheap. I'm putting it out there, and I'm someone who's very cost conscious, but it's not cheap. They're only making 230, and they will all be numbered. So if you have one of those numbers, you're in the very, very limited edition market. But there is a price to match with that. You want to say what it is?
I'm gonna give it away. There's 12,000 euros.
Yeah, so deep pockets, but again, the Ducati motorbike, it's all quite.
And I think a lot of the motorbike brands we've seen over the years, like BMW, all these other people, they put out these limited edition runs to kind of like their target market.
They put themselves out there.
Will be motorbike fans.
That's a good point. So, like you said, Isaac, I think it's a really good point. The market that it's aimed towards is probably going to be Ducati owners, right?
Yeah, not exclusively, but I feel like with the limited numbers as well, it's not. They're looking to just build that goodwill around their brand with the people who already love Ducati. Of
course, and I think it's a pretty unique looking bike. And at the end of the day, you've got your Ducati Superbike sitting in the garage, and next to it, you've got your Ducati Powerstage RR limited edition number 3 model there, right next to each other. That's picture perfect. That setting that up in a cool place would be the place to go. That leads us, funnily enough, onto the next bit.
Which is your cool places.
Yeah. So, through the many that you guys have sent through, we've looked through your uploads and found some of the coolest of the cool places that we could find from, the most recent uploads. So, we're going to look through. This isn't a bike shed. This isn't a time for you to be harsh, Isaac. Okay. This is just enjoying people's cool places. So first up,
look cool.
We've got Ankas on his Cube Stereo Hybrid 140, but it's got 160 out front, like in the setup there. In Romania, near, I'll let you pronounce that.
Just so that I can take the heat in the comments, exactly. It's Monte Serrano.
That sounds like it's really good. Leave a comment down below if he was correct. Beautiful place. I haven't seen any riding shots of Romania, and I bet
there's a lot of amazing terrain there that we just sleep on a little bit in the UK.
He centralised it. There's beautiful mountains in the background. Great stuff. Next up, what have we got?
Next up, we've got Rob has submitted this photo on the hills above Barnoldswick, Lancashire. So it's the home of Hope Technology. He's out on his Trek Fuel X8 GX Axis T-Type fork and shock replaced with Öhlins Axis dropper.
But,
Lovely.
so there you go, Öhlins suspension, we're talking about this.
Yeah.
Not just that, I was going to call him out. I was going to be like, well, if you near Hope, then sure you got Hope. But it's running full Hope setup.
Yeah.
It's very UK, it's wet,
It's
muddy.
That reminds me, I saw the photo and I thought, oh, that's got to be like up in the Pennines or Dales or like somewhere like that. That kind of rocky bridle way. There's some amazing riding up there.
And the fact of the matter is, Rob, I just want to call out and say, incredible stuff. You've recently been re-diagnosed with multiple sclerosis, which is never nice, but having the e-bike to actually get you out is incredible. So thank you so much for sending that out. And, you know, having that description means that you're able to do more. And, yeah, it's just a great story. Love it. Keep sending them in. Next up, we have Lewin on his Kenevo SL, riding in Pontypool. Some incredible trails on Pontypool.
There is, isn't there? And I'd like to have an e-bike to ride Ponty.
Yeah, there's a big climb if you're talking about the bike park. Which...
yeah, well, actually that one, to Pentwiz, I think is really great zipping up the road. Even on a normal bike, maybe on a Ducati, it'd be even faster.
Yeah, well, there you go.
And then some of the other hills would begin to drag a little bit when you're lapping them.
Yeah.
But thank you for submitting that.
Yeah.
If we can work out which side he's on his Kenevo SL.
I mean, you can see it's a
First
clear day in
e-bike
Wales.
for me.
That's impressive.
Yeah. No, thank you. It's reminded me, Ewan, that I need to get over there. Is it Ewan?
Yeah, I think it's Ewan.
Ewan?
Ewan. Let's say Ewan. That seems like the more common name, maybe. Last but not least, we got Ricky. Ricky is at the top of the Darren. Who's Darren?
Top of the Darren, Dare Valley Country Park. I've been meaning to get over there. I haven't yet, but all about the valleys for us here at GMBN.
It's a beautiful shot as well. Thank you guys so much for sending in your cool places. We would always love to see more and more and more. And, you know, leave a description. We like to hear your stories. It's great. So make sure you guys leave and upload your cool places, whether it be a picture or a video, down in the description below.
Next up, we've been diving through some of the EMBN comments, picking out questions to answer today. So the first one...
I can't take the credit. You've been diving. That's
You've
great.
been diving.
No. All right, let's get on with the comments. Go on.
It's from the Proster. Well, I'm going to pretend that I've dived through them so that you can answer, because I don't know. But, you know, I am the Proster. Hey, good show. Thank you. I'll take the credit for that one. I'm looking for my first eMTB. My budget is limited, and I came across a used Specialized Turbo Kenevo Expert 6 Fatty from 2018. I'm a bit scared of the geometry. I think it is too high and not slack enough for the type of riding that this guy wants to do. I want to use the bike for jumping, trails, and occasionally in a bike park. Adam, what do you think?
I think people can get scared of geometry numbers and things like that. That bike, the Kenevo, is a pretty aggressive style bike. It might be a little bit older. I would say don't get too worried on the geometry numbers. The best thing to do is jump on it and see what you think. At the end of the day, you need to ride it. But I would say Kenevo Expert 6 Fatty from 2018 is super capable. It should be aimed, you know, if you're doing jumps, trails, and occasionally bike park, that bike will be able to handle those no problem. And again, with the 6 Fatties as well, be wary, is the forks are plus tyre compatible or 29er compatible. So you could modernise it in other ways. You could make it, put 29er front wheel in it, that'll slacken it off a little bit as well, because that'll bring the front wheel up, and you don't need to change the forks or anything like that, which is great. And I'd even say, you know, consider there are other means of making a bike slacker or change the geometry. It might not be necessarily what was intended, but there's things like angle headsets to be able to slacken off up to 2 degrees on the front. You've got reach adjust to be able to adjust your fork position headsets. You've even got bushings that can change your, you know, slacken your head angle or steepen or whatever it might need to be done. I'd say that, you know, get on it, try it, and my only thing to say is just check and see what the motor condition's in. You know, motor and battery condition is a consideration that you need to take when you're buying a second-hand e-mountain bike. But otherwise, that bike was intended for doing that kind of riding. So
what are the key tells you would look for if you were checking out that motor and battery in a second-hand situation? The super obvious things to look for.
Not swollen, not smoking. No, joking. You know, you can check the mileage, you can check your ODO, you can have a look on the error log. There is also the mission control app from Specialized where you can see its full, you know, log. You can also check and see if it's actually been replaced at any time. There are ways of checking batteries. It's not as easy, but you could take it to your specialized dealer and they, in theory, should have a computer system that can plug it in and see the life of your cells and things like that. That being said, you still can purchase aftermarket batteries, and there are shops out there who will repair or even replace motors on those bikes. So just do your research. Keep it out there, but don't be too worried on geo numbers. That bike is a ripper.
Yeah, I think finally, just on that, just never underestimate your ability to adapt and get the most out of different bikes and geometry. Just spend a bit of time on it and then be shredded. You
heard it from the shredder himself. Next up, who have we got, Isaac?
We have, you've done me a solid on that one. User YP4TX3HH4D. Thank you for your comment.
Good stuff.
Weather's still brilliant. Oh, well, not today, it isn't. But he did a tour of the Roca de Rocabunya as suggested by Steve Jones. That's a gorgeous bit.
That was good pronunciation as well.
Tried to kind of roll the queue a little bit. For me, next year, will Bosch be doing a motor with gearbox? Will it happen?
That's a good question. Personally, I'd say no. I mean, we've just seen a jump.
That's it.
There you go. I'd personally say no, just because we've seen the likes of Pinion, Intradrive. There are brands out there now starting to put gearbox units out there. Bosch have obviously not long released the SX motor, so to have the capability or the resources to be able to make another motor in that meantime, I think it'd be limited. I think it's that's a lot to take. They may be developing it, but next year, I would. I would be
trying to hedge his bets and not come down any one side or another when it does happen.
Yeah, well, if I get proved wrong, I will
be excited to try it out.
I'll be excited to try it out, and I'll eat my hat. There you go.
There we go.
Last but not least, go on, introduce it.
Number of billion. Thank you. ABS systems. Any news on any more?
Yeah, I mean, we've seen the Bosch system, which is paired with Magura. That seems to now be rolling out. I'd say they're the main ones. I have heard of another brand. I can't remember off the top of my head, but Bosch and Magura seem to be the ones powerhousing this technology through. My only thoughts is it's much more aimed at, say, a lighter trail use or a road use, I say, or commuter.
Okay.
Because I think brake control is so paramount when it comes to, say, enduro riding, where, say, you might need to do a really tight corner and you can do a stoppy round or various other things. I think that having predictable brake control for people who are using the brakes in maybe not necessarily a classic sense needs to be available. And the ABS system is for someone who wants just a general all-round safe feeling. So there are more things coming. I'd say the ABS system is already starting to roll out on bikes, so you'll see more and more as time goes through, and I'd be interested to see what categorization they put them on.
Yeah, I was researching this a little bit yesterday. We were looking at it because there was the Shimano systems as well that I think targeted on their cargo bikes and stuff, and I've not used them, so I can't speak too long on this, but people talking about the difference between you need the control, that kind of stuff, and then sort of drawing parallels with when a lot of the different brake changes came in with disc brakes, and that everyone found them too grabby, and like this is back a long time ago, and that now we've adapted and making a point that it's something that everyone will learn.
Yeah, it'll be a time. It'll be a time.
But then from my sort of reactionary perspective, I'm like, oh no, I want to be able to control the brakes.
Yeah.
So I think we're just going to have to see how it develops.
It's common technology we see on cars.
Yeah.
So only time will tell. Again, I'll eat my hat again if proved wrong and we start to see ABS coming out on every single e-bike. But thank you guys so much for leaving your comments. We always love to try and answer. So leave some head scratches, leave some difficult ones for us down in the comments below. We would love to try and answer them and muddle our way through. So be sure to leave them down below.
So to keep things rolling and to keep people talking, we would like to know, and I would like to know, because I haven't made the leap yet. What tipped you over into making your first eMTB purchase?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting one. Could it be all your mates riding them? Could it be that there was a discount? We would love to hear how you guys made your first e-mountain bike purchase, or if you're actually waiting to do so, and what might be those steps to get there. But yeah, make sure you guys leave a comment down below and we'll answer that. We'll have a look at them and see where you guys ended up on your journey to get here. I've just been discussing. Isaac is quite a harsh bike voltee, don't know how you say it. So I'm just gonna throw it all your way, Isaac, and see how these wonderful people of our community fare. So, first up we have Alan on his Decathlon Stylus V1 in Wigan.
Billinge.
What are we saying? Nice to super nice, Isaac?
I've got a lot of affection for Decathlon, actually. They've just done well over the years. Used to be a grand family day out when I was young.
Yeah.
So that's got a super nice, just because it's taken me back to going around, riding the scooters around.
He's not so harsh anymore. Crank's in a good position. He's got a lot of accessories. Sweet, you got a super nice.
Yeah, well done, Alan.
Next up, who we got? We got Ryan on his Norco Range Volt C2 2021 in Mission, BC, Canada. He has been on a mission. Isaac.
Again, getting out after work. He's got some ergon grips on there, which is what we like to see. Yes, just for the
non-drive side.
Yeah. Well, I need to do some work on my perception as a harsh. So maybe it is nice because of the non-drive sides, but it's nearly there because it's a lovely photo.
You were close, Ryan. You were close. Just the other way around. Next up, that's a beautiful shot. Steve in Australia.
That was very good.
Thank you. He is riding his Trek Rail 9.8 XT, and I'm pretty sure that's a Project One colour. So that's a custom one-off colour.
That is super nice, isn't it?
You're cool. I mean, the crank's not horizontal.
Look at the paint job, and with the cranks and the pedals and the fact that it's
a slightly long exposure shot as well.
Yeah,
so
no, nice one, Steve.
You got super nice, not just a nice one. And next up, we've got Ewan on his giant STP2 in Fife in Scotland, and he's done a switch bike conversion kit. So, what are we saying, Isaac?
I don't know much about switch bike conversion kits.
No.
That's pretty cool. So it's up there on the handlebars.
Different front wheel, little box on the front, bang, there you go, you've got yourself an e-bike in theory. What are we saying, nice or super nice?
It's cool, again.
It's for a 10-year-old son.
It's non-drive side. Tell your 10-year-old son to turn it around. I want to see that, and it's nice at the moment.
Oh, harsh, okay. And last but not least, we got Diedrich with the Stereo Hybrid 140 HPC Race 750 Dazzle and Orange. That's a great name for a colour.
It is, isn't it?
Tan walls. What are you saying, Isaac? Nice or super nice?
I'm getting far too geographically swayed. I'm very nostalgic about Belgium.
Oh yeah.
So it leads me to say super nice, but then that's not very fair on the bike. But the bike itself is also gorgeous. I really like the colour scheme, Dazzle and Orange.
So that is
a super nice.
Super nice. Well done, guys. That is all for our bike vault today, but make sure you guys send over as many clips as you possibly can in the link in the description below, and we will get Isaac or someone else he's turned his cheek. You know, he might be less harsh, so we maybe need to get someone harsher. But send them in. Cranks level, valves matching up. Beautiful centralised shot. We'd love to see him.
Getting social, what have you seen on the channels?
I have been watching Monsieur Ali Clarkson, the trials rider himself, trying to bridge the gap between motocross and e-mountain biking. And he's trying to see if it's hard enduro e-mountain biking, whether it works. It's quite janky looking, isn't it?
Yeah, it's cool because I feel like there is this quite mutable grey area with like moto trials, electric trials bikes, eMTB on top. I'd like it.
I don't know if it's quite there yet.
Yeah.
Doesn't look like it's got a good flow. But, you know, we've got someone like Chris Ackrig or someone else like that riding it. That anything can look like flow.
Yeah.
Next up, we've got a Scotland local, Ryan GW90, who is just having a great time, popping off, flowing, getting the last of that summer light.
That looks extraordinary for like nearly October in Scotland, and it's like dry trails, blue skies. Thanks for
look at that. It just looks like great fun. It's just a little pop and off we go. I don't know. That just makes me want to ride. Love it. It's
nearly the end of the show. It's time for me to ask you what's coming up next week on EMBN.
What have we got in store? Well, I answered this question. Is the 160mm travel e-mountain bike the do-it-all, one bike to rule them all? And Steve has been checking pro versus production and the mystery to be left with that. But we will see you guys all next week for another EMBN show. Thank you, Isaac.
No, thank you.
Yeah, awkward cabbage.
I won rock, paper, scissors, maybe.
Oh, yeah, all right, I lost. I'll see you later.
Thanks very much for watching, guys. See you soon.